If I can do a shameless plug real quick for next week's events.
Oh, for next Wednesday's workshop. Actually, I'm gonna do that every week. Good work.
So some of you have seen that next Monday, we have a Speed Date Your Major event going on at IFC. And other students have asked me exactly what is that. So just so you know, we're going to have a couple of professionals from Hondurans and CEDIA, which is a home integration company or association, and Infosys. They're going to be here sitting at tables in the lobby of IFC. And it's just like speed dating, you go around and you get like a real quick conversation with an actual professional who can tell you all about their journey, you know, where they started, how they got to where they are now. So you can get a realistic idea of what your IT major could eventually get you, right, in terms of careers, okay? And then next Wednesday, we have the Purdue University Global here. And if you didn't know that, they do have they have 4 100% online Bachelor of Science degrees within IT, and they accept the majority of Ivy Tech credits. So they're going to be here talking about how you, if you want to go directly into work, but you also want to work on your bachelor's, they have these options for you, as well as some pretty solid payment plans as well. Okay?
That's awesome.
And there's information up here about that in dual flyers for you. Take it away.
Yes. Okay. Great to see you guys. Thanks for joining me. My name is Meg Applegate, and we're going to be talking about job search and personal branding and how those mix together. And so today is definitely a conversation. I'll be doing a lot of the talking, but you're going to be talking back with me, and we'll be conversing about these topics. So to start, we're going to look at these logos. They all represent brands and companies. So tell me, what do you think of when you see these logos? What companies do they represent? What characteristics do you think of? Shout it out.
Computers for Apple.
Yeah.
Fast food, McDonald's, coffee for Starbucks, and sports attire for Nike.
Yeah, anything particular or characteristics about those brands? Lots of people sell computers, lots of people sell coffee. Can you give me some more characteristics that you can think of in those brands or companies?
I think of Apple as innovative.
Innovative for Apple. Yeah.
McDonald's International.
International.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Starbucks is pumpkin spice lattes.
Yes, and they've switched already over to Christmas, which is yeah, because McDonald's sells coffee, so does Starbucks. What's the difference there?
Starbucks is known for coffee. McDonald's is not known for coffee. They're known more for fast food.
Yeah, what's different about their coffee, would you say? Maybe nothing different, but what do they say is different? How do they market it?
It's an experience.
Which one?
Starbucks.
Okay.
Experience.
Yeah. Right, so you think of, when I think of Starbucks, I think of like really high quality coffee, right? And when you think about McDonald's, it's quick, it's fast, and you know what? Maybe Starbucks would disagree. It's probably very similar coffee, right? Like you have a gas station down the street that also sells coffee, the same as McDonald's, but you think about these things differently based on the brand. So it's crazy how we can get these pictures and visions of what a brand is just by looking at a picture of their logo. So, oops, sorry, I went back. Let's try that again. So today we're going to be talking about your unique value promise, okay? So what you have to offer as a job seeker. And we're going to be talking about how then you brand your resume and LinkedIn profile with that personal brand that you have to offer and who you are. And then we're going to talk about job search strategies. So knowing who you are, where you want to go, and then the steps to get you there. So I want you to, I think we're all kind of sitting next to someone. If you're not, just turn and pivot. I want you to think about yourself as a brand, okay? And so, sorry, I'm kind of this light here.
I know.
Okay, we're good. So think about how you might be the same as the person either sitting next to you or thinking about the same students that are seeking the same degree. So I know some of you are computer science, cybersecurity. So when you're talking with your neighbor, think about how you're the same as the same students that are seeking your degree and how you might be different from those students. Does that make sense? Okay, so go ahead and turn to your neighbor. If you don't have a neighbor, kind of pull up, and we're going to chat, and then we're going to report out. Hi, come on in. Is there some
We already know how we're different. We have a lot of stuff. We do. No, I think we like the same technologies. Oh, Golden Girls. I'm excited. And Napoleon Dynamo.
We're just doing a little discussion about brands, and the question is, what do you have that is the same as students getting a degree, and then what do you have as students?
So what's your degree? Well, start with what makes it the same.
I brought it. Oh, yeah.
You know, that person's interested. I mean, I always make cards.
Maybe professional.
Oh, like professional.
I could think about that maybe.
Oh, okay.
Bring it back. Let's bring it back and then share a couple things that you noticed that you're the same as your fellow degree-seeking students and different. Would anyone like to share what they discovered either themselves or a partner? Yeah.
So she is.
Oh, everyone, be quiet so you can listen.
She's studying IT support.
Yeah.
Here in college, she just finished one program and transitioning to another. I guess where we just we're a little different because she's a student. I work here and staff member, but I do support students exactly like her. So female Ivy Tech students looking for IT. So that's kind of thing similar but different.
Yeah, that's great. Anybody else want to share how they're the same as their fellow students and then different? One more. We need to chat. We need to chat today, guys. Okay. Yeah.
So in terms of being the same, she worked in insurance, and nothing worked in insurance, but customer satisfaction was one of my main priorities at one of my previous jobs as a road technician.
Yeah.
So we both share that, but what makes her different is the fact that her customer satisfaction was a bit more strict than mine would have been. So as far as customer satisfaction would go, I think she has me beat by a long run. And in terms of overall soft skills, but the fact that I had a federal job at one point, my communication skills up and down a chain would, I would say, set me apart from Lisa. I'm sorry.
So what we're talking about, yeah, is your personal brand. So basically how you articulate your value and then why you're uniquely positioned to do what it is you want to do. Okay. So this is really the breakdown. So this is from Career Thought Leaders, and I thought that was a really great picture to describe it. So it's really, you can think of it as a unique value proposition, it's commonly said, or a unique value promise. So when you're a job seeker, you have a UVP. And so what it is it's talking about you, which is your unique skills and experiences, everything that makes up who you are. And then you want to think about it according to your peers. So what makes you unique? So if you're in a cybersecurity program, for example, all of you are seeking the same degree, right? You'll be graduating with the same degree. But what makes you different from the person sitting next to you? And then you want to think even further, what makes you different from the job applicants applying for the same position of interest? And so it's really important to hone what makes you unique. And we'll talk about those different things today. And then the value. So you need to know who you are. You need to know what makes you unique compared to your peers. But then you need to articulate it in the context of your job target. So you're speaking to hiring managers, target companies, And so you need to be able to use the language that they use to describe yourself. Does anyone know of a great cheat sheet of how to kind of pick up the language that companies use to describe yourself?
The requirements for the job?
Yeah, the job posting. They give you the language. It's awesome. So if we have time at the end, I have one that we can kind of pull up and look at keywords, but they give you the language that they're looking for. And so you should be able to use that language in your career documents when you're sitting in the interview to be able to describe yourself, but also set yourself apart and what makes you unique. Okay, so we're going to briefly touch on resume. And so I know you guys have great career development professionals that can help you craft your resume. Woo-hoo! Some of them are here. But one part we're going to talk about is the headline and branding statement. So these are kind of modern components of your resume that you should know about, but we're going to be talking about the top third. So I have a couple of examples. So, okay, so here is going to be the contact information, and then this is the job that they're applying for. So this was one of my clients. She's a mid-career professional, so you're not going to be applying for director roles, but she was in tech, so I thought it'd be a good example for you. So the director of corporate innovation, that's the job that she was applying for. So when you're on your resume, when you're applying for a job, you should have a headline, which is basically the job that you're applying for, okay? And then you have these modifiers down here. So a lot of students like yourselves, you've never had the job of security analyst or support analyst or whatever it is. So you can use these modifiers to then use keywords about things that you have done or keywords in the job posting to describe the skills that you have. And then here's this branding statement that I'm talking about. Typically it's like 1 to 3 sentences, and it's talking about who this person is and their unique value to the job posting. So she's a data-driven marketing leader. So in this posting, data is really important. She creates high-impact company solutions, enhancing customer experiences. And then you'll see here, we talk about project management and then what makes her different, seeing patterns instead of complexities. And then how she has unique experience pairing CRM and marketing. So you can see that this statement can't be copied for you. It's specific to her. So you can't look around yourself in the classroom and be like, oh, I like their branding, either statement or kind of value. I'm going to do what they do. Can't do it. It's not authentic to who you are. So this statement, you shouldn't be able to copy and paste it and slap it on someone else's resume. It should be very specific to you and your skills. Does that make sense? Okay. And then here you can use different achievements that you have here. We just use language from the posting. So like one of them was saying we need a key thought leader, a process builder, and so we integrated that into the resume. And then keywords here down below. So before on a resume, it used to be an objective statement that described what you want and what you're seeking. And so you need to think like the employer. You're offering them value, right? It's not about like, I'm looking for a job and I want this internship or this job. They don't care. They want to know what can you do for them, okay? So here's a new grad. He was a sales representative or wanted a job as a sales rep. And so you can see here that we infuse a little bit different elements as a student. And so this person, sales reps, right, usually have to be competitive on the hunt for sales. So she was a Division I athlete. So we made sure to put that in the statement to talk about that she is competitive. So you can also think as a student that you're involved in different student organizations, community service organizations, all those things can contribute to your personal brand. So you can see that we show that she is ambitious because she's a dual degree student, and we used her athletic abilities to really help with how she brands herself because it lends to the job posting. So you have to think about your job target. You could be a great volunteer somewhere, but if it has nothing to do with the job or the soft skills or the type of person they're looking for, you need not include it. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's just a touch on the resume. So this is basically a formula that I use. It's a little bit different from the one that we've had that I just shared. So it's talking about what makes you unique, what value have you delivered, what kind of accomplishments have you had, whether it's in your internship and your degree coursework. And then we're talking using the language from the job target, from the target company. So that's kind of the breakdown I use for that statement on the top third of the resume. Make sense? Okay, so we're quickly done with resume. Now we're going to move over to LinkedIn for personal branding. So LinkedIn is a social media site just for networking. How awesome for a job seeker, right? And so it's not only a social media platform, but people use it as a search engine. So the stats that I found was 77% of people use it to research people and companies. And when you think of companies and recruiters, 80 to 87% of companies and recruiters are using it to search for candidates and also vet candidates. So LinkedIn is basically your digital handshake. People are meeting you before you even step into the door. So it's really important if you have a LinkedIn profile or if you don't have one, you need to own this real estate because you can basically create a brand messaging of who you are and the value you offer online. Okay, so I'm going to show you just one easy way to do that, and it's through a headline. So on LinkedIn, you have a profile picture, your name, and then you have this headline underneath. So it's 120 characters available to you, and usually LinkedIn defaults to your current job. So you'll see a lot of current professionals that says like general manager at blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's fine. You can do that. LinkedIn defaults to that, but this is 120 characters that you have to own to help people find you and show off your unique value. So remember, LinkedIn's a search engine, so you want to have keywords. You want to be found for what you're looking for. So you want to put yourselves in the shoes of the recruiter and say you're looking for system analyst roles. Well, they're going to be typing in that job title in LinkedIn. And if you don't have that anywhere in your job, in your profile, you're not going to come up in the search options. Okay? So I'm going to talk about ways that you can infuse those keywords into your profile. And then you want to do something that's attention grabbing, right? That value. What makes you different? Okay? And that is kind of the perfect storm for the optimal headline. So here's some examples. So I use system analyst and then security analyst for keyword job titles. So some of you, right, don't have those jobs, right? That makes sense. You're a student. You don't have those. So a great way to infuse that into your headline while being truthful is using this phrase, poised for, right? So then that way you're like, hey, I'm studying for this and I'm poised to take on this role. It's not lying that you have that role right now, but it's showing that's what your aim is, okay? And then these are different keywords from the job postings that I found. So for assistant analyst, you're looking at service management. You guys know what these things mean here, languages, software as a service. You guys know those things, right? So you're adding the things that you know, and then something unique about this person is they're bilingual, okay? So if they're helping at a help desk with customers, that's gonna be something that's gonna be really helpful, okay? Another thing here is these are the keywords. This person had an information security intern, or they're doing that right now. That's a great way to add more keywords and also show off that you're doing the work now. And then something that might be different is, hey, I'm interested in cybersecurity, but I'm getting a degree in computer science. That may be different from a typical applicant. Does that make sense? Okay. So we're going to practice. Okay. So here's some formulas. I want you to take out, either turn the handout that I gave over or use a piece of paper and practice writing a headline. Okay? So here are some formulas. We talked about poised for in a job title, your industry, and then a certain value that I have to offer. Or you could do something very similar, like the skill set that you have or the languages that you know, and then something like an accomplishment or a tagline. So let's try it.
And you actually have a ton of career development folks here too. We're pretty much all, yeah. Raise your hand if you're career development office. Woo! So if you're having issues or whatever, you don't have to figure it out now.
Oh no, this is just practice.
This is just practice, right?
Raise your hand.
But we can, help you come up with some words too if you're hitting a roadblock anytime. We're located on the floor underneath, second floor, 221. Anytime. Sorry.
Oh, that's great.
Hijack.
And we can play around, right? You may finalize something and then you're like, well, that doesn't really seem to be fit. You can change it. I change mine all the time.
When you look at mine. Oh.
Yeah, I need to have these out. Hints. Some inspiration as you write.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any ideas so far, what you have?
We're just writing it on paper. So, in the job title, in the industry that you're interested in, and then what value do you bring?
It's a good time too.
Okay, who's brave? You don't have to have it nailed down or perfect. This is just, relax, just brainstorming. Tell us your name. Maybe all of you know each other, but I don't know you. And then tell us what degree you're seeking, and then that'll make more sense. Ben, let's hear it.
I'm Ben. For my headline, I put down military veteran poised for cybersecurity internship, studying cybersecurity at Ivy Tech. I am Test Out PC Pro certified, and I am studying for my A+ certification.
Awesome. Okay, so if we go back here, we would put in those keywords. So maybe at the end, we'd put like veteran, which is really great. We would put in the role that you're looking for, and then we would talk about how you're poised to pass that, what is it called? The certification?
Cybersecurity internship.
Yep.
For the job I'm seeking. And I'm
Perfect.
studying for an A+ certification.
Got it.
I have a Test Out PC Pro certification.
So the great thing is you could put the certification that you have, and then you could put expected and this new certification, right? Because if you put in skills that you're either going to have or you do have, you can search LinkedIn by skills and people pop up. Okay, not just the skill, but people do and companies do. And so the more you can put those in there, the more likely you're going to be found by a recruiter or hiring manager. That's really great. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No takers? Okay, good work. So that's just one way that you can infuse your personal brand in LinkedIn. There's several sections that you can work with your career office on. Like the about section is very important, that you can infuse keywords and more of who you are, as well as your experience section, okay? But something to know about the headline is that you actually get more characters on the mobile app than you do in a desktop. So for the headline, you get 120 characters on your desktop, but if you download the app, you get over 200 characters, which is crazy. They just want you to use the app, but use it to your advantage. And then when you're looking at people on the mobile app, the first 50 characters are what you can see. So just think about that as you're putting it in, put your most important things first. Yeah.
So if somebody looks at your profile on a desktop, will they see the full 200?
They will see the full 200. I know, it's funny. And note too that the headline follows you wherever you go. So if you're commenting on a post that someone wrote, you'll see Meg Applegate and then part of my headline, okay? So that's where it's really important. You can get people interested in learning about you just by the very nature of your headline, okay? Okay, next up, the job search game plan. So we talked about, it's really important to know who you are, what makes you different from your peers, and also about talking in the language of your target company, okay, your industry. And then we need to know, right, where we want to go. So this would be whether either your industry, positions, company. And then we need steps in between to get you there, right? So that's what we're going to dive in next. So the first is research. How many of you love to research? We have some people, I don't like it at all. So you guys are ahead of the game. So this is something that's really important in a job search, and many people skip because most people think it's boring, okay? So it's really important that you do your due diligence. It's gonna help not only as a job seeker figuring out where you wanna go, but in your interview process as well, okay? And just meeting professionals. You have your next, for example, next week you're meeting people in employers that maybe that you want to work for. So doing this research each day is going to help you then be more articulate when you meet with people that are working for companies you're interested in. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to talk about is your target positions. So many of you maybe already know what positions that your degree makes you eligible for in tech. If you don't, this is really important research to do. So you'll be doing this on your own, and I'm sure your career development office will be able to help you as well. But there's 3 great websites that I really love to use: ONET, the Occupational Handbook, and then Career One Stop. You can Google those, find those. And the great thing about these websites is that they have tons of positions that you might not even think of, okay, that you'd be searching. And you can search in job families, you can search in technology specifically, and so you'll be coming up with a lot of different job titles. You can look at their main functions, the education that's required, the skills that are required, even salary expectations. So this is really good information for you to know, because if you know who you are and you want to get a job, but you don't know where you're going, your job search is really going to be hard to be successful if you're just kind of like, well, I just apply for everything. You're not going to land very quickly. Okay, so it's really important to know where you're going. So first position, I would narrow that down to like at least 1 to 3 kind of jobs that you're looking for. And that'll make your life easier in your job search because it's going to be a lot more targeted and focused. Okay, next is company. So a lot of people miss this. A lot of people are like, yes, I got a degree in this. This is who I am. This is where I want to go. But they don't research any companies. And it's really important to have a target company list. So I recommend about 10 to 15 companies on your target company list. And I made a Dropbox folder for this presentation. Oops, that's somebody's calendar. That's fine. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Let's see. Oh, here, I already put it on. So this is a list that I've given you that you can print or type on or whatever. And so this is something that you can write out your target company and these different steps in a way that you can engage the company. Okay, so that's available for you. So the first way that you can research a company of interest, obviously, the website, right? I'd hope you'd get on the company website. But a lot of people don't really access all that's available. And some websites vary, obviously, but one way to look and to learn more about a company is through their career tab. So some are very robust, others are not. But those that are robust, a lot of them talk about the interview process, the recruitment process. They talk about the culture there. They talk about FAQs of the company potentially. They potentially talk about different resource groups that are available in the company. And so you can learn actually a lot from the career section of the webpage if it's robust. Like for example, like an Eli Lilly or a Salesforce, it's gonna be very robust compared to maybe a startup company. Okay, and then you want to think about the culture, right? Because you have different values and hopes for your work and for your professional life, and then you want to see if those match up with the company. So a way to look at values is obviously through the text, but look at the pictures. Right? See who works there. How do they dress? Look on, and we're talking about this a little bit on social media, at their pictures, right? What can you see that they value? Okay. And then the third thing is there's a lot of information on a website that you may not think about, like an annual report, for example, financial information, press releases. These are all things that maybe you're like, I wouldn't think to look at those, but these are all clues about what the company is about and who they are. And it'll give you a really good idea of when you're talking with people that you know their accomplishments, right? You know what products that they deliver or that you can buy. You know their recent accomplishments that they've had, and potentially then that will show the challenges that they're facing. And so the more you know about the company, the better. Make sense? Okay, next websites that you can look at is hoovers.com or careervault.com. And in your handout, I think I've listed those. And these are basically global company indexes. So like that give an overview. So startups probably aren't going to be on these websites, but this will give you a really good idea, kind of an overview of global companies that you may be interested in. And then the last thing to think about, which I know many people think about, is social media, right? We use it all the time for our personal use, A lot of people don't think about using it for their job search. So on the company website, you can probably see who the executives are that work there, staff members potentially, right? We're going to talk a little bit more on LinkedIn and how you can use that as the search engine for your purpose. But look on Twitter, look on YouTube, see if the executive has recently given a statement or a talk, or if they've been on a podcast recently, or what the Facebook group for the company has been doing, or what the staff is tweeting about, or what people are saying about the company, right? You can mine so much information from social media if you just do the work and look and kind of mine. And you can also see like what kind of challenges they're facing or what kind of awards they recently won. There's tons of information you can look at. So use social media to your advantage. Okay. Any questions about that? That was a lot. No, we're good. Okay, so I wanted to show you these numbers. So 83 to 85% of jobs are not advertised, okay? And 2% of people land jobs on a job board. So how do you get a job? Any ideas?
Know somebody that works there?
Yep, that's a good idea. You had something to say?
Networking.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So 70 to 80% of people secure a job through a referral and through networking, okay? So this should really inform how you spend your time. I love productivity, and I feel like when I do stuff online, I feel very productive. But if you're just applying for jobs online and that's all that you're doing, you're gonna be spinning your wheels, okay? It may feel really productive, but it's not gonna get you very far. The numbers don't play towards that kind of job search activity. Okay, so we're going to break down a few ways that you can get where you want to go with these job search techniques. Okay, so networking, LinkedIn, and informational interviews. Okay, so you have a little network brainstorm sheet. Looks like this. Everyone have this?
I
If not,
don't.
I can pass it around.
Sure.
So I want to take some time to brainstorm your network. So we're all part of a network or different networks. And a lot of us forget that, right? We're just going about our day, going to work, going to school, doing our volunteer thing. But wherever your feet take you, that's where your networks are. So this week, when you're walking around, going to your different places, these are people that are in your network. And usually there's 3 different people that make up a network that's really valuable. So I've listed those there. One of them is a connector. So someone who you know is always kind of championing your ideas, right? That's like, oh, and I'm this person, like, oh, you study this, I know this person that does this, oh, we should connect you, right? There's always kind of someone in your network that's like that. You have, right here, you have experts, right? So expert people in your field. So if you're thinking about, right, where your feet take you, here you are, Ivy Tech. You have faculty members at your disposal that are experts in your field, that know other experts, right? And then we have champions. So you have cheerleaders that are like, yes, way to go. When you're down, you can always count on them for encouragement. So I'm going to take a few minutes, kind of jot down all the people that you know, you can think of. So think like where, you go to school, you go to work, maybe you go to church, maybe you volunteer. Think of all those people that come to mind, list all of those as much as you can, and then try to decide, hey, who are these people, right? And then kind of rank, like, are they going to be helpful, do you think, or not helpful? So let's brainstorm who we already know. Sound okay? All right, go for it. Natural networks.
Want you to network. Want you to brainstorm your network. That's it. Do you think about any person? It's just person you know. Just somebody that you think might be able to connect to somewhere else. Like I have information on knowledge and professors
You just have a few managers. Yeah, I know. She's in the work. Is she the expert in the field that you were interested in? You've got to add something. Oh, again, my professor told me he wanted to like a letter from a recommendation of him.
Please come here. Roberts. Here you go. It's a little sad looking, but I have one.
No.
It's okay, there's somewhere in the building.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt. You can continue as you will another time. But shout out some people that came to mind. Not necessarily names, but right, like my dentist or my doctor or my mom or whatever. Kind of shout out, or like this person that I volunteer with or what have you. Who came to mind? You might spur some other people in other people's minds.
My old boss.
Your old boss, yes.
My current boss.
Your current boss, yes.
I would say my current boss and Jessica.
Oh. Yeah, did all these people that work here make your list? Could be a great.
If not, I better be on it.
You're gonna be checking while I walk around. Who else? The people that are involved in your education, hopefully faculty members as well. Does someone else have some? Ariel. Yes.
ITSB instructor Joe.
Joe, an instructor.
Joe.
Cool. Anyone else that we're missing? Any areas
Family
that you're
friends.
like, hey, sister-in-law? Yeah, family. Totally. Neighbors,
A family friend.
a family friend, yes. Yeah, all great. But do remember, so look at your list and see, does anyone on your list work at a company that you would love to work at?
Nobody wants to work at Ivy Tech.
So here's the thing with your natural network. We're all connected to people. In a job search, research has found that referrals usually come from a weak tie, which basically means an acquaintance. So we all have people that we're connected to, but they're connected to other people, right? And so when you look at your list, you're like, oh yeah, no one works at Salesforce that I know. But they probably know other people who know other people that work at Salesforce or know someone else that works there. And so that's where it's really important that we're going to be talking about networking, okay? And so our natural network may not be built for our specific job search, and they're probably not. And so that's where networking really comes into play. And so LinkedIn can be a really great tool in meeting these weak ties. Because a lot of people that we have in our natural network, we don't know that they know someone else that could be helpful to us in our job search, okay? And so LinkedIn, how many of you guys have a LinkedIn profile? Yeah, super impressed. Good work. So I recommend you can connect with people, right? And we'll look at that here in a minute. Okay. So what you can do, and we'll go to someone. I pulled up Honduras because that might be a target company, at least for Ben, I've heard.
And they're gonna be here on Monday for
And
Student
they're
Danger.
And so how I did that was I went into my LinkedIn profile and I typed in the search box. And you'll see here, look, people, jobs, companies. So when we talked about skills in your headline, you could type in a skill and people are going to come up in the search. So that could be you, essentially. But I'm going to type in Honduras. That's how I got here.
I'm sorry. You can't, that's Will.
Oh, you're fine. So here, this gives us a good picture also for research, right? Are they active on their profile? It looks like they are. Their last post was about 1 week ago. Okay, so that gives a good tip. And looking at the pictures and seeing what they're about. You can also read their about section. I'm really interested because we're talking about networking as we're talking about who works here. So you can see all the employees that are on LinkedIn that work at Honduras. So here's a list. Here is 40 search results, but for someplace like Salesforce, the results are going to be a lot bigger. So this we could probably manually like look through and see, you know, who has the job that we want or be a decision maker for the job that we want. But for a place like Salesforce, you're not going to have the time to sift through all of that. So what I recommend is going to all filters. And so this is really great. You can look at location. You can look at, this is really good, schools, right? So when you're networking with people that you don't know, you want to find a commonality with them. Well, your alma mater is a great connection. So if you're like, hey, I just want to click this and see who went to Ivy Tech who works here. That's a really easy way to say, hey, I'm getting a degree at Ivy Tech. I saw that you went there, right? Building trust there, okay? If you scroll all the way down, you can go to title. So it's hidden. Oops, sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry. Do you want me to clear out your calendar? Or do you want me to X that out?
Yeah, I thought that I X'd it
Do you
out.
want me to do that real quick?
Thanks.
Joseph? Okay. So we're going to type in security analyst. And we're going to click apply. Okay, so there's 12 results. You can see all of them here. I'm just going to click on the first one. So Alan Farmer. It shows who we have in common. So for me, I know Kelly that works there, and he also knows Damien. Okay? So when you look at that and you think, oh gosh, I want to be a security analyst at Honduras, right? Oh, I know Kelly pretty well. Your first route to go, besides a cold connection, is accessing your natural network, right? That we just brainstormed. So I would reach out to Kelly and say, Kelly, I am loving to learn about Honduras. I'm studying cybersecurity. I'm wanting to get in connection with someone that has the job that I want. Would you introduce me to Alan Farmer? That would be plan A, best case scenario. If no one shows up here, what I recommend do is clicking on his profile, okay, and get a good sense. This is kind of our sleuthing, right, our research. We're all good at kind of cyber stalking people. I want you to apply it to your job search, okay? And so it talks about like how many connections he has. It has contact info. Let's look at his contact. So he doesn't have his email listed, okay? Talks about his experience. It's not very filled out. Let's see. Usually it has if he's active on LinkedIn, I can show you mine. It'll have an activity section. So if he's been commenting on posts, writing his own content, that'll be on here. So Alan Farmer, while he looks great, he's not really active on LinkedIn. So if you were to send him a connect message, which you would then customize when you click connect, it says, would you like to customize the message? And your automatic thing in your head is yes, because you want to create a connection with this person. Because usually you're going to say, well, I don't know them. Why are they asking me to connect? I get tons of those. Mm-hmm. So this is a great way to sleuth about Alan and say, oh my gosh, you went to Ivy Tech, so did I. What did you major in? Or I'm majoring in this. I'd love to connect, to learn from you on the platform. That's usually what I do. Okay, so that would be one way. But since he's not very active, he's probably not checking it. So I recommend you do is we're going to search for his email. And so I have a great little tip to search for his email. And it's on your handout. It's called hunter.io. And so what you want to do is go to product and email finder. We know his name, Alan Farmer. If anyone know Alan, you can say that he was part of our. And then he works at Hunter, so it should pop up. There it is. Go and look. Bingo, we're in, okay? And then on your handout, there's another, you can verify the email address because it'll say like, we're 80% sure that this is correct. This is our best guess. So you can go to mailtester.com, type in his email address, and it'll verify whether that's true or not. So then you have his email address. Great. I bet he checks his work email, which is awesome. Okay? So you're like, okay, I have the email address. I know someone that works at the job and the company that I want to. What do I do? Okay? So you want to write them an email. Where's my little clicker? Okay. So here's a sample email of what you're going to write. Okay? Because what the goal of reaching out to this person is what? What's the goal here?
Make a connection.
Make a connection. Are you asking them for a job? Are you asking them to review your resume? No. We're not asking you. You want a job. You want them to look at your resume. But what you want to do is make a meaningful connection to learn about their, whether it's their career history, their current job, whatever it is. You're being a student of their story. Okay? So the goal here is to not have a great email conversation if he does reply. The goal is to get this person on the phone or in person, 20 minutes, right? So then you have a chance to ask all the questions and for them to get to know you, you get to know them. So here's a sample email that I recommend. So the subject line, really easy, quick question, right? Super simple. And you say, hi, Alan, my name's Meg. I came across your info on LinkedIn, and this is where you kind of insert your angle, like whatever you're interested about Alan about, right? It could be that you went to the same school, right? So I saw that you went to Ivy Tech. I'm studying cybersecurity too, right? Your experience really stood out to me. Explain why. So this is where your sleuthing comes in. Very brief, right? I saw that you do this kind of work there, and I'm really interested in that. Or I saw that you shared this article on LinkedIn, and that was really fascinating to me. I'd love to learn more, right? Very short. Love to learn more about that angle. I know you're busy. Okay, this is from, this template is from Austin Belchek. He is great on LinkedIn if you want to follow him. So you're basically saying, hey, I know you're important. My recommendation is insert a specific time. Say, I'm available on Tuesdays at 2. Do you have a few minutes that we could talk, right? I totally understand if you can. Your name. Okay, so you want to make it super simple. A lot of people ask tons of questions in their email, like, hey, all the questions that you want to ask in person, people ask in email. And as a professional, that seems like a lot of work to type out, right? And so I'm going to push that email to the side over and over and over until probably that time passes that they ask for an appointment and say, oh, sorry, I can't do it, right? And so you want to make it so simple for them to respond to you. So their answer would be like, yes, 2 p.m. is great, November, whatever, right? Bingo, you're in. So, but think about when you send these emails, you might not get a response. And here's the thing about job search. You're going to be rejected. And it's a bummer. But it's going to happen. It's part of the game of job search. But the good thing about rejection is, while it's hard, it's getting you closer to the yes. The more no's you get, the closer you are getting to your yes. So you're going to send out maybe 5 of these emails, and maybe one person's going to respond, right? So not everyone's going to be like, yes, I'm in. But what I find is most people love to talk about themselves, right? 20 minutes about their career story, typically they can be in for that amount of time. Okay, so say Alan was like, yes, Meg, I'm totally into talking to you. Let's meet at Starbucks at this time for 30 minutes. And you're like, yes. And then you're like, oh no, what do we talk about? I'm going to help you, okay?
One question, who was the LinkedIn that you referenced for that last sample?
Alan Farmer, his profile?
No, you said, where'd you?
Austin Belchek?
Oh, Oh, yes, Austin, I don't know if I'm saying his last name right, Belceek. He's a great person to follow. So when you're thinking about, this raises a good point, when you're thinking about people to follow on LinkedIn, it's great to follow your career professionals, but it's better to follow industry leaders in your industry, right? Because maybe you want to get a job and career. Many people do, many people don't, right? So you want to follow people that are in your industry. So you're knowing about the current trends that are happening. You're actually networking with those people, whether you're commenting on their posts or sharing their articles. You want to follow and connect with people in your industry for the most part, okay? Because you don't want to be a professional job seeker, right? You want to be a professional in your field, okay? Okay, so then that leads to the informational interview. How many of you have done an informational interview before? Okay, what do you think it is? What do you think about that? An informational interview. It has a bad name, but what do you think about when you think of an informational interview?
Is it kind of like the initial interview where they learn about you and you learn about them?
It's not part of the interview process, but you've kind of got that first part, right? You're learning about someone and they're learning about you. So the interview is kind of like a funny word. It's basically like a networking meeting, but they call it an informational interview. So Alan isn't required to meet with you, right? Even if there's a job posting open, he's not like, oh, sure, you know, it's part of the process. It's not part of the process. This is your job search kind of game plan. So it's totally his choice to meet with you. If he says yes, then this is a way that you can get to know him and he can get to know you, okay? And so I have a little card here to help you. Let's see where it is. So this is a little conversation card that I made to help, okay? So in this informational interview, you're sitting at Starbucks. It's super important that you come prepared with things to ask because Alan's not going to show up and take control. You asked, and so he's going to expect you to be prepared. So that means you're going to be wanting to do all the sleuthing you can about what you're interested in learning. Like you should know about the company he works for. You should know a little bit available about Alan that's online. And then for those 20 minutes, you're going to want to ask, like, what was your career path? How did you get here, right? What are the main components of your job? What are the challenges? What are things that you enjoy? The biggest rewards? What's most important to prepare for this role, okay? So you're just learning about his job. This is the job that you want, or the company that he works for. Maybe he doesn't have the job that you want, but he works at Pondurance and you want to learn more about the company. But the most important question, before you leave the phone or the meeting, this is the question that you should ask. Who else should I talk to? If you think of nothing else to ask, this is so good because you're not going to be reaching out cold anymore, right? You'll be reaching out to people through this method of like, hey, don't know you, here are commonalities. But once you start meeting with people, they know other people. And he should be like, oh, based on our conversation, you know who you should talk to? Then you write that down and reach out to them and say, hey, Alan told me, you know, that you'd be a good person to talk to. And so these are kind of more warm leads. Does that make sense? And then Alan is basically vouching like, oh, this is Meg's cool. She's got, you know, she's looking into these things, right? So this is kind of the game plan that you're working because like we talked about, the job opportunities usually are hidden, but you're tapping, what they call tapping into the hidden job market because you're with the people that work in that industry. So if something comes up at Pondurance or somewhere else and Alan's like, oh, I just talked to Meg. She'd be a great fit for this, right? Then he potentially could email me and say, hey, I thought of you. Or there could be a job posting at Pondurance and you've already made several connections at the company and you could then apply for the job and email your people and say, hey, I applied for this job. I'm super excited. You could even ask like, hey, can I put your name down as a referral? Does that make sense? How many of you are like super freaked out about this tactic? Yes, it's uncomfortable, right? Because most people love to sit behind the computer and do the flurry of job applications because it's easier, you feel busier, but everybody does that process, right? Doesn't work very much. But you need to look different and set yourself apart and get out there and talk to people. And the great thing is, this is and this is the advice that I tell mid-career professionals to do as well, but you have a great excuse, you're a student, right? You get to play that card and open, I'm a student. I'm learning about the companies in the area. I wanted to learn more about, the positions that I'm interested in. As a mid-career professional, that feels a little bit more awkward, but you get to play the student card. So you own it, right? I'm a student. I'm still learning. Would you meet with me? And most people are like, yeah, I'll give you 20 minutes, okay? So I would use this conversation card if you're like, oh, I feel uncomfortable, I'm not sure. Use it. Okay, so that goes to show, right? Effective networking isn't just luck, right? You may run into someone at like your friend's soccer game or out volunteering, that just happens to work for your target company. But most of the time it's strategic and it's really hard work. But when you do have that chance of fate, you're already prepared. You've done the research. You know your unique value promise. So when you meet that person in the elevator and you're like, oh my gosh, they work at Salesforce. I want to work there. You're already ready to go, right? Hey, making that conversation really easy because you've already done the work. Does that make sense? Okay, so then once you've kind of initiated this game plan, even though you're scared, which is scary, right? To talk to new people and meet new people, especially people with the jobs that you want. You just step in faith, do it scared, right? Then these opportunities start showing up, right? What do you do? So this is where you really need to think about the job leads that come your way or that are posting, right? Usually if a job is posting, which typically they have to by law, right? They say in the first 1 to 2 days, applicants are more likely to receive an interview. Do you know why that is, do you think, based on what we've just talked about? Yeah, they pulled keywords. What else do you think? Yeah, you've already talked to people that work there. They probably already know who you are, right? So when a job posts, my recommendation is apply within the first 2 days. Typically they post on a Monday. That's what LinkedIn research says. So by that Tuesday, if this is a job where you're like, this is the perfect company, this is the perfect job, apply as soon as possible, okay? And so one of the ways that you want to then rank the leads that come your way or that you see is the first one is like the ranking A would be perfect job. I mean, no job's perfect, but most ideal job, most ideal company that matches your values in the location that you want. This is where you spend the most of your time tweaking your career documents, right? With keywords, which we'll look at in a minute. Making sure that you have, the right kind of storytelling to the values of the company, right? And if you have a referral that you can mention, to mention that referral. Then you could think like the second tier is, this is an okay company. I can see myself being happy here. That job seems fine, right? Then you're kind of deciding how much time am I going to spend on my application for this one. The third ranking is out of desperation, right? Like, well, I need a job and I have my bills and, so I wouldn't spend too much time tweaking your career documents if you're not like really wanting to work there. Does that make sense? So based on the numbers and on your values and what you want, that should then indicate how you spend your time. Make sense? Okay, so one way to tweak your career documents is spotting these keywords in a job posting. So here's one that I found at Ponderance. Not all of it's in there. This is as much as I could fit. So this is your treasure trove of keywords, the language that the company speaks, okay? And so you want to read this. Most people read it and they're like, okay, yeah, I know the job. This is like, I want you to spend a lot of time with the job posting if this is a job where like, I really want this, okay? So it talks about just reading it. So your incoming support for incidents, your track and prioritizing customer support tickets. Customer support would probably be a keyword. And the reason I'm getting that here is you want to look at the ones that are listed first, typically are the most important. You want to look for patterns. So get your highlighter out, people, right? If you print it out or, highlight in a Word document, copy and paste it in a Word document. Look at the requirements that they list for the job, okay? So these are the requirements that they list for the job. Those are important. And then here, this is more of an explanation. There was more of an explanation up top that you could look at as well, but I didn't have it for you. Okay? So Looking at customer support, you can see here that's already listed twice, already in the first 2 lines. So that should be found in your resume, either as a keyword and definitely embedded in there, especially if you have the skills to do that, right? And so you want to look for these keywords. Okay, let's see. You have to have 2 years of industry experience. They're looking at these proficiencies, and look here, they're talking about these public cloud certifications, these different things. So these should be found in your resume if you meet those qualifications, right? We're not lying. Do not lie. Okay, it's gonna bite you when you get your resume may go through, but when you get an interview, it's gonna be a little awkward. Okay, and that's gonna kill all the work that you've done, the trust that you've done. So if you have these qualifications, you need to put those in there. Or if you're earning those qualifications, put the certification in there, but put expected or planning to take at this time, right? Because you have, for your resume, you're talking about the ATS systems, the robots that view your resume before it gets to a human. The robot is going to see the certification that matches with the job posting, and they're like, okay, great, we're moving you on. But your language around it is saying, I'm expecting to take it in 2021, whatever. Make sense? So that's how you're going to spend your time tweaking your career documents. So based on how interested you are in the job, will then indicate how much time you spend on it, and then you're going to basically use the map that they've given you, the job posting, to mine the keywords as they apply to your skills. You insert them into the resume. Does that make sense? Okay, any questions about that? Okay. So here comes to this kind of an activity plan, right? So a job search, it seems really big. And quite honestly, students and executives alike get overwhelmed by a job search. It seems really big. You have a lot going on. You're in your class, you're working, and then you're supposed to find a job on top of that. It seems like a lot. So I recommend breaking it down into bite-sized pieces. So my recommendation, I brought a note card for everyone, is have a note card and think of 5 things you can do each day. Pretty small for your job search, okay? And some of those things can be what we talked about, right? It could be researching one company. It could be following someone on LinkedIn that you want to learn from. It could be commenting on their posts on LinkedIn or Twitter or on YouTube.
You could be checking high-rise job boards.
Yeah, and job boards, well, I'm giving them a bad rap because you don't get a lot of success, but sleuthing on a job board is part of research, right? What kind of jobs are coming up for this company typically, right? What are their needs? That you can use that as part of your research process. So my recommendation for your job search is to think of 5 things that you can do each day. And if you do those each weekday, they're going to compound into something bigger and bigger. So, right, you send like 3 of these emails asking cold people to meet with you. Or you reach out to 3 people in your natural network and say, hey, you know, I'm getting started. I'm learning more about this in your natural network. I can talk probably more about your job search, right? Do you know anyone that, you know, I could talk to? Or I'm trying to learn about these different areas, right? And so doing very small actions for a long period of time is going to reap big rewards, okay? What other things could you think of small actions you could do for your job search besides these ideas?
Attend a career development event.
No, meet with your career counselor. Oh, my.
You get crazy.
I don't know what is
Meg, what's your recommendation when a student or any job seeker sees a job posting and they don't quite meet the qualifications?
Yeah, that's a great
They're
question.
looking for a bachelor's degree, and here at Kentucky we offer the associate's degree. How would you recommend we approach that?
Yeah, so research shows that if you have 80% of the job requirements is that you should apply. So, and typically, depending on your gender, you might feel confident in doing that. You might not. Usually, and this is research has shown that women feel like they need to meet 100% of the job requirements to be like, oh, I'm going to apply. Where men, they're like 60%, I'll give it a shot. Okay, this is just really quick. So women in particular, it's really important because I'm the same way, like, oh, I want to do the job really well. I want to make sure I meet all the requirements. If you meet 80% of those, apply.
That even includes education.
My recommendation is if you're reaching out to people and talking with them, that would be a really good question to ask.
Okay.
Right? How serious are they taking that? Because typically, if you're not meeting like a bachelor's of science requirement, the computer is going to screen you out. It's not going to get to the human. And so if they're flexible on that, that's where your connections could really help. Like, hey, I applied. I'm not sure if I would be screened out or not because of this. Explain. That's a good question. Yeah.
Could you, like you said about another example, could you say, put in your resume, pursuing bachelor's of science degree in order to.
But you would want to make sure that's true. Like if you don't have any kind of inclination that you're going to complete that, then I would say that's lying. But if you really think that, hey, I have these ideas of I want to, like these Purdue online courses, I've looked into them, I'm planning to enroll at this time, right? Expected enrollment date, 2021. Yeah, I would say that would be ideal. And then you just want to make sure that you match up the wording. So some people list B.S. Some people list Bachelor of Science. So my recommendation for when you list your education, I would spell it out kind of like an expanded form and use the abbreviation. So Associate of Science in parentheses A.S. in whatever. Or if it's a bachelor's, Bachelor of Science. So that way you're catching it all because everyone kind of lists things differently and they input things in differently into the systems. It's a good question. Any other questions? Oh, that's all I have for you guys. Kind of ending right on time. I have a newsletter if you're interested in doing that.
It's the greatest newsletter in the world.
Oh, you're so sweet. So all these resources that I'm showing you, I send these out to my newsletter people. And so if you're like, hey, I do want more job search strategy advice and tips and materials, you can join my newsletter at my website. But, oh yeah, go ahead.
What happened to the salary?
The salary.
Yeah, when they asked me to go.
Yeah. So my recommendation is to do your research. So you could use those different sites based on the position. There's also a website called payscale.com that will give you insights on the salary. So my recommendation is if they allow you to put a range, I would use the range in your geographic area. And then always next to it, if they let you, because I know these systems are funky, you could put negotiable within that. If they don't let you put in a range, I would probably put right in the middle of that geographic range based on your research. Or if they let you type in negotiable, I would put negotiable in there. So that way you're leaving it open, right? Because if they offer you the job, that's when the negotiation really starts. You don't want to be kicked out because you put too high of a number or too low or whatever. Any more questions? All right, well, thanks for your time and coming. It's great spending the afternoon with all of you. Thanks so much. Thank you.